What's up, everybody? This is another episode of SPORTS-REUBEN-LIFE here. This is gonna be doing. I'm gonna be doing a live version of the show here, and I'm just gonna talk about what's going on today, right? So today, we have the Saints. They just finished playing. They're 10-2 against the against the Falcons, which are 3-9 now, right? The Saints beat the Falcons 26-18. I kind of called that, right? It's an interesting thing. I kind of called that it was something of a weird thing where where they on paper that was supposed to be an easy game, but here's the thing that the Saints had lost to the Falcons the last 5 games. The Saints played the Falcons, 4 games ago, and they were they beat them, right? The Falcons beat the Saints. It wasn't supposed to happen. It didn't seem like it was going to make sense, but it happened, and they beat them. And so this game was kind of a every which way, but I kind of called it. The Saints were going to win. They were just too much for them. And the Falcons played well and everything, but they're just not. They don't have the kind of they can't complete the drives. They stall out sometimes. They mess up on special teams, and those are kind of the reasons why it kind of goes south a little bit there, right? So that being said, you had another game that was very interesting, and I kind of predicted that game to be that way, right? I kind of thought the Saints were going to win. I didn't think they were going to score more than 47 points. They only scored 44 points, which is kind of weird. It got close, but it wasn't something that they did, right? So, what was weird about this game, and if you look at the statistics on it, the Falcons, they won time of possession wise. They had 35 minutes versus 24 minutes. That's a huge discrepancy, and they lost the game. They did 85 plays, and the Saints did 49 plays, right? So that's another discrepancy there. So that was kind of a weird thing there where they didn't they kind of won on paper, but one of the biggest takeaways in the difference, and if you look at the stats and the numbers and everything, is the turnovers, right? And the Saints sacked the Falcons like 9 times. One guy had 4 sacks on his own, right? And so this guy who had 4 sacks was that C. Jordan. This guy had 4 sacks. Cameron Jordan, he's he's been in the league since 2011, and he's a good player and everything, but for him to have 4 sacks tells you that there's something wrong with the offensive line there. That's how they keep sputtering drives. When you give up sacks, it kills drives, right? I mean, so when you get sacked 9 times, quarterback's not going to last, and then he starts getting hesitant. He starts not being confident to go to that second read, right? So then you start making a quarterback receiver, you start making them one-dimensional, right? Where in the sense that where the issue is the one-dimensional factor is plays into the idea that you can't do your second, and for sure you can't do your third read. So your second read is your release valve and everything like that. So what that quarterback seems to be doing when they have a lot of pressure is they go to the third read right away. They skip the second read because the second read could be an elaborate kind of situation they have to go through, but the third read is the easy release valve, and that's a situation where they could just go to that right away. That being said, you start becoming predictable. Matt Ryan, who's a very accomplished quarterback, becomes predictable, and he just can't do it, right? He can't perform in that manner. So that was an interesting takeaway from that game there. And then you have the other game of note. There was 3 games, right? But there was one game, the first game, the Bears and the Lions. There really wasn't anything consequential. The Bears got the victory, 24-20. Can they make the playoffs? That's going to be a little questionable, right? I mean, these 2 guys were, the Bears were 5-6 at the time. They both didn't have above 500 records, so I don't know if there was really too much there to look at. The Bears have a bunch of holes on offense, and so they need a lot of help, right? And so the next interesting game was the Bills and the Cowboys, and the Bills were favored only by 6.5 points, but yet they had a 9-2, 8-3 record, right? And the Cowboys are kind of in the middle of the pack at 6-5, and it's like they win some games, they lose some games. They've lost some games that they should have won against kind of subpar teams, but the Bills had an opportunity here to win a game that was going to be tough on the road. Now, here was the whole takeaway that I did, because I did a video about this, where the Bills had a better away record than the Cowboys have a home record. So the Bills have a 5-1 record away, and the Cowboys are now 3-3 at home. So that was kind of the interesting takeaway of that Bills-Cowboys game. And here was the thing. The reason why I predicted that the Cowboys would not win this game, even though they could have won it, right? They have the offensive firepower, right? The thing with them is they're playing on a short notice. Even though it's a home game, because of the fact that their home record isn't fabulous, like they're not 5-0, they're not undefeated at home. So it tells you that they probably don't psychologically believe that there's an advantage of them playing at home. So there was that kind of whole aspect of it, right? Where it's like, they were playing at home. You would think that they would have more confidence, but they played a short game. They had a short week, and they finished playing the Patriots, dude. They pulled out all the stops against the Patriots, and they couldn't get the victory. So they were 6-4 2 weeks ago, and now they're 6-6. Now they're middle of the pack. They're going to need help to get into the playoffs. Other teams are going to have to lose so they can get in. What's up, Tia Lupita? How you doing? Happy Thanksgiving and all that good stuff. So, hey, what's up? So, that was the whole purpose of me doing this live here. I don't think I've ever posted a live video of my sports videos live, but I was like, let's do it today. Let's make it quick. We're enjoying the festivities. I didn't want to get too. And of course, this guy starts a live video right away. and so anyways, I thought that was an interesting aspect of the whole thing. And I don't know if you guys heard. So this is like sports news that just happened in the MMA world. And I'm going to do a bunch of videos on this. Is the Conor McGregor is going to fight on the 18th of January against Donald Cerrone. So that's going to be a real interesting fight. That's going to be an interesting fight in the aspect that, who's the bad guy, who's the good guy. I was talking to somebody about that, where I was saying, well, is Conor the bad guy and Cerrone's a good guy? Cerrone's got the most wins in UFC history. He's been in the UFC forever. You got Conor McGregor, the ultra superstar, who in reality came in a couple years, made $100 million, has a whiskey company, a very successful whiskey company valued at over $1 billion in like 10 different countries and all that good stuff. And now he's basically picking his fights. So he's kind of like come in, took over, and now he just sits back and wait, where Donald Cerrone, although he is a very popular character or popular person in the UFC, he is somebody that didn't get the money, didn't get all this other stuff that maybe Cowboy Cerrone did, right? So the issue right there is like Cowboy Cerrone put all the work in, and Conor McGregor, so what's the storyline going to be, right? I want to see them talking trash right away, dude. Let's start going in on these people. Like, Cerrone should go, because I don't know where Conor's going to train in the United States, because it's going to be at the T-Mobile Center in Vegas. So he's going to either train in Newport Beach, or he's going to train in Vegas. Donald Cerrone should go down there and get a dozen Krispy Kreme donuts and just throw them at his face. That's what he should do. He should just throw them at his face, or he should flat his Lamborghini and his Rolls Royce tires or something. It's got to get ridiculous. He's got to hype up this fight. It's not that Conor McGregor is not in the UFC lexicon anymore. He's not in people's minds, and people don't talk about him. The thing with him is he just hasn't fought. So although he's a very popular figure, he's kind of lost favor with the diehards, because part of when people like these guys, they like to see them fight a lot, right? You like to see them fight once or twice a year. That was one of the biggest things, and here's a big example of this. So that's the thing with Conor McGregor, but to be a good example is John Jones. John Jones was suspended for this, for that, and he was going through all these troubles. Now he's fighting more consistently, so now we've kind of seen that it's almost like a way to apologize to the fans for going through all this crazy stuff, right? So John Jones is fighting more and more now, and so his frequency is fighting more, and he's right into it now. He's talking smack with a Stylebender, who's a champion at 185, and he's also going back and forth with him, and I don't think that fight's going to ever actually happen, in the sense that it doesn't really make sense right now, right? So, but what happens is the going back and forth, the jarring back and forth, it does create buzz, right? Because Stylebender is good at being in the media. Stylebender is a very charismatic figure. And so John Jones is kind of feeding off that, and he's building hype for his own thing. So Stylebender is talking about John Jones. That's a very intelligent marketing PR move, where you have John Jones, who's not even going to fight Stylebender, but Stylebender is talking about him on the Joe Rogan podcast. He's talking about him everywhere. He's giving John Jones a buzz, and John Jones is like, dude, I'm Jedi level 35, dude. I'm Yoda with this, dude. You're just a little Padawan trainer, if you know Star Wars reference that comes out December 20th, all that good stuff. But anyways, That is an interesting thing. What's crazy about this whole this little live thing, I have no idea how long I'm going on this, so I might ramble. This might be the longest Sports Ruben Life ever, and it's going to get posted on YouTube and Facebook. So both of these are going to get posted on there. And so, start a live video. Why does he keep starting a live video? I don't understand all this. I keep getting these notifications. What is going on here? Anyways, so there's that with that news, right? So then the next upcoming sports entertainment venue or event that's going to be happening is going to be the Anthony Joshua versus Andy Ruiz fight. The boxing match is going to be a rematch of it. And there's a whole bunch of crazy things, observations I have about that fight, right? I'm going to come out with a series on Facebook about how during the course of this week, it's going to probably be a 4 or 5 part series. I'm going to try to dig deep into how Joshua can win, how Ruiz can win, how they can lose, right? How they could put themselves in bad position. There's a whole bunch of these other little auxiliary factors that are in that fight that people are not kind of seeing, right? So when you see these two fighters, there's reasons why when they come out and fight, you're going to be able to tell, or you're going to be able to recognize where these people are in their training, where these people are in how their conditioning affect the fight, right? It's going to affect the fight a lot. So anyways, that's going to be that's coming up in 1 week, pretty much 1 week from now, right? And then so to cap it all off, the UFC is going to be coming out, that UFC with Cerrone and McGregor. The question is who is going to be in the undercard. It'll be an interesting mix. Those two guys right there are going to be able to sell that card, right? So if you wanted to put some people on the undercard, like I can see maybe that new female, strawweight champion. I can see her being in that undercard, fighting a championship level fight, because she's maybe not known in the United States, but there's going to be so many eyeballs on this Conor McGregor fight, this Conor McGregor Donald Cerrone fight, that whoever's on the undercard, it's your opportunity. I talk about this all the time. When you have those two superstars, they're going to feed the celebrity status of everybody below. Because even though everybody doesn't watch all the undercards, now you're getting promoted by ESPN. Okay, this is going to be the first time that Conor McGregor and ESPN are going to have this partnership where Conor McGregor is going to jump on ESPN like crazy. Now, what Masvidal went on some of the ESPN-owned radio stations, and he really had an impact on there. He really got the word out. That's why it was one of the biggest UFC events for ESPN so far, right? So there's that value in that whole thing. So Conor McGregor has this opportunity. He not only was carrying the advertising load, the promotional load for the UFC for about 3 or 4 years now, because in reality, it was him. It was him that made that UFC work, right? And so that being said, what is he going to do? How is he going to catapult this? He can take this to a whole nother level. I can see Conor McGregor wearing his Proper 12 whiskey shirt all the time when he does the fighting. I can see him, putting on a show. I can see him just doing it all, right? I think that Conor McGregor has a real opportunity here to put himself in another level. Even though you think it's not possible, it's possible. He also has the opportunity to be the good guy. He can turn the corner on this whole thing. Donald Cerrone, I don't think he cares about that whole theatrical thing, but Cerrone is he's a character, he has a personality, so it's going to be interesting to see him, Donald Cerrone, and Conor McGregor go back and forth, where they go back and forth on Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, whatever the deal is. You want to see it, right? You want to see this type of activity. Here's the interesting thing about this, okay? And this is going to be the crazy thing. That Usman Colby Covington fight, what is this? Kamaru Usman versus Colby Covington. That fight is December 14th, dude. I think everybody's going to forget about that fight, dude. I think Conor McGregor is stealing all those guys' thunder, dude. He's like, I'm going to fight January 18th. And he announced that after they've been putting together this December 14th card. And here's the thing about the UFC 245. It's got Kamaru Usman versus Colby Covington. The undercard has Max Holloway versus Alexander Volkanovski. You have Amanda Nunes fighting Germaine de Randamie. See, Amanda Nunes versus Germaine de Randamie, that would have been a tremendous fight on the Conor McGregor Donald Cerrone card. But obviously, Conor McGregor, I think he even holds secret his plans to the UFC. So the UFC is always reactive to what he's doing, which is an ingenious thing, because he lets it even makes the UFC surprised. So they're always backpedaling, and it kind of forces. Here's an interesting aspect of what he does, okay? And this is what really is what kind of grabs my attention about what he's doing PR wise, right? When you are not in control of what he does in his announcements and everything, the UFC has to backpedal, and they always have to be very reactive in a quick way, right? So what they have to do is the UFC has to take chances on what they're doing promotional wise, right? So in other words, like you could be very calculated and cookie cutter, and that always works, right? You always can get put in a position where you can sell so many tickets. But when you get put in the hot seat timing wise, okay, we're November 20, okay, December's 30 days. The fight's January 18th, that's 48 days, right? You're looking at 50 days out, right? If you look at it, that's exactly 8 weeks, dude. They have no time. You got to shoot all the embeddeds. You got to shoot all the other stuff, all these interviews and everything with the UFC. Donald Cerrone has to get in shape. If he's not in shape already, and if Conor McGregor's not in shape, it's going to be a boring fight because they're going to go real slow, but I don't think that's going to be the case. Those two guys are very entertaining and polarizing figures. So it's going to be a show for sure. It might be a little sloppy. When you look at it on paper, it's going to be a little sloppy because they're not going to have 10-week fight camps, because they're going to have to do a lot of PR. They're going to have to really talk about all this stuff. They're going to have to build this up. And people say, no, they're not going to have to do it. No, if Conor McGregor and Donald Cerrone, if they get 1 million pay-per-view buys, which that model's kind of destroyed anyway, right? But let's just talk about viewership, right? If you have 10 million people watching your fight, Conor McGregor, it's not acceptable. Like other fighters would beg, and they would be so happy if they got 10 million viewers on their fight. This Conor McGregor, Donald Cerrone thing, it's going to be expected to almost break every record, right? And nothing's really happening in January, right? The Super Bowl hasn't happened yet. You're going to have football playoffs, but they don't play no games on Saturday. They do, but it's going to be 1 or 2, right? And then, so that being said, what are you going to do, right? So you're going to have what I think is going to happen is Conor and Cerrone, they're going to have kind of two camps. And those two camps are going to be their two media assistants, right? In other words, their media day assistants. So you're going to have their two camps politicking for each other. And so that way they can build buzz like that, right? So if you have, like, say, for example, for Conor McGregor, I can see Dylan Dennis being in the media like crazy now. And him politicking. Now, here's the crazy thing about Dylan Dennis. Now, Dylan Dennis belongs to Bellator, and this is a UFC-sponsored fight, right? So I can see there being a little bit trouble there, but it really doesn't matter, because if you build buzz for this fight, you're going to build buzz. A mixed martial arts fan for mixed martial arts is going to be there for Bellator or the UFC. Now, I've always said in the past that the UFC is the premier league because of the fact that its drug testing policy is second to none, right? That's what differentiates them from everybody, right? If you take the relationships aside, the history, so forth and so on, all these other fight organizations don't have the history of the drug testing, right? And I think that puts them at another level. I think that's why the UFC and ESPN and Disney, because of Disney owns ESPN, I think that's because that was the reason why they were able to have that connection. So that being said, I thought that was I think that's an interesting fight. I really like that fight. But let's get back to UFC 245. And you see, I've already distracted myself with this fight that's coming up in January. This UFC 245, it has Jose Aldo, it has Uriah Faber, it has Mike Perry. You have all these named people, Matt Brown, Ben Saunders. You have all these people, dude. That being said, Mara Morales, all these people fought for the belt or had the belt, right? That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, like 8 people have had the belt or fought for the belt. So that's going to be a stacked card. It's interesting to see how this card is going to handle the barrage of the Conor McGregor, Donald Cerrone media blitz, right? I don't think anybody's going to wait. I've already seen on ESPN.com, they're already interviewing people. They're already asking people's opinion on this fight and what are they thinking, who's going to win. What happened to UFC 245? That was the next best thing. Everybody wanted to see Usman and Covington fight for the belt. They're both 15-1. They're pretty evenly matched. It's going to be a tremendous fight. And now it's getting overshadowed already. So, anyways, I thought that was interesting. But the next big fight that's coming up December 7th before the UFC 245 is a boxing match. Boxing and mixed martial arts are having a real huge surge in popularity lately because of the fact that, you know, this whole connection with ESPN and the UFC. Boxing has benefited greatly from the UFC's promotion by ESPN. And so Golden Boy, Matchroom Boxing, and all these other boxing organizations, they're reaping the benefit of it because it's bringing everybody into mixed martial arts. Because these two entertainment entities are really close together, right? It's like baseball and basketball are completely different. Baseball and football are completely different. The timing, the pacing, everything's completely different. When you look at boxing and UFC fighting, there's so many. They even score the fights the same way. So that's where you get the connection to everything. So, anyways, this is Thanksgiving special. This same episode is going to be on YouTube. I was not able to. My lack of ability at the current moment to stream this video on YouTube, it's not going to happen, but it's going to be on both channels. So I probably just put the description for this, and it's going to be a little bit different, but this is today's show. Thanks for watching. Talk to you guys later. Bye.